Hey, there's a few curse words in today's episode, so if you have kids in the car or anyone around who you don't want to hear that, this is your warning. Hey everyone. If you pay attention to the advertising or commercial production world, you'd have noticed over the last few years that a small agency from Chattanooga, Tennessee, has quietly been climbing the ranks of AdAge's annual Agency A-List Awards. That agency, or brand production studio, is Humanaut. You're about to hear from a few of the awesome personalities that make them so good at what they do, because today we're talking to Tommy Wilson and Dan Jacobs as they share some of the secret sauce that makes Humanaut one of the top 10 agencies in the country.
A garden of pure ideology.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad.
Or a hilarious beer ad.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
I think you're the best ever.
Look down, back up. Where are you?
You're in the bush.
Well, how am I supposed to know? I've never been there.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do...
Wanna play Bob?
I think we're gonna be here a while.
I'm sorry for the lag. I spent pretty much burned most of my day fighting with the internet company because they just went down today for no reason. So it's pretty inconvenient, but thanks. I didn't want to, I know you guys are really busy. So I was like, I'm just going to have to risk it. See if we can do the best we can. So I think we'll have like a half a second delay, but it's good. It'll make me be patient and not ask you a million questions.
It'll be good. It'll make us nervous about what your reaction to our answers is. Oh shit! That wasn't what he was looking for. That wasn't. We fucking blew it.
Well, so by this point, when people are listening, I will have already introduced and bragged on you guys. But just to identify your voices, Tommy, can you say hey so that they can identify your voice?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tommy Wilson.
Oh, it's smooth like chocolate.
And Dan.
Dan, this is my voice.
And
or this
Tommy,
is my voice.
Tommy, you're more in the producer role, correct?
Well, we both are in a producer role, or sort of like one person or one evil villain or superhero on any given day. My job is much more like logistics, time and money, back office. And Dan facilitates a lot more of the creative that's just like way out of my wheelhouse.
That's not true. I mean, it's mostly true, but yes. We have a concentric circle of like things that we both care about, like how we're gonna achieve production excellence with no money. And so it's my job. So I look at it as like, I'm the executive producer, creative. He's the executive producer, logistics is a nice way of saying it. And basically I'm here to keep, because we're an in-house production company, I'm here to keep the creative vision through the production process. And so helping to outline, like translating some of the more aspirational things in the scripts and the creative into very practical, pragmatic things. And that's where Tommy and I work literally just side by side, trying to figure out like how we know we need to make this is the most important part of this creative. Like this is like non-negotiable. This is the thing that we need to base everything else on.
This is where the money goes.
And that's where like Tommy comes to like, okay, that's where we're spending the money, and we'll sacrifice money everywhere else. So like, is this a camera crew execution thing where we got to throw all our money at cameras and people,
robots,
like that tech? And then we'll sacrifice on, maybe we're getting friends and family talent. Like we're not doing traditional casting, and maybe we're getting like stealing locations, or we would never steal a location, but yeah, we'd steal a location. So it's sort of like that. Or is this a cast heavy thing? Like, okay, we're throwing all our money, like this cast needs to be everything. And then we're not going to get all the bells and whistles. This is going to be on a tripod, and maybe we'll use some of our up and coming talent. Like we'll bring up people, to give them their shot as a DP. So we're not paying necessarily somebody that has a huge resume, but we're kind of experimenting with some young talent.
Dan uses an analogy a lot of times when we're trying to explain how we're both executive producers, but not. he's more of a doula, a creative doula, and I'm more like a creative midwife. You know, we're just birthing this thing, and we've got all these fun analogies. Like the accounts person might be Tinder in that situation. Yeah, sparking daddy tie.
So this whole thing, to not to like make it about us, but it's been fun because so the company I produce for, Film Cry, we were just like, I was just complaining, as I often like to do, and I was like, I can't find information on anybody, man. How do you do this stuff? Because they brought me home from production in LA, and I was like, cool, commercial filmmaking, easy peasy. Let me just see how other people do it, and that's just not really out there. It's not easy to find, but so it's been fun to talk to people who are excited to talk about it. So again, I appreciate you guys so much talking about it. Dan, you were talking about DPs. Do you remember Lance Coons? Because he's the one who told me about you guys.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Lance.
Yeah. I've been soft stalking you since 2017, I believe. Because I was like doing my spreadsheets of like who the best people are. And Lance was like, yeah, I know these cool guys, Humanaut. And obviously I became kind of smitten with you because I was like, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was like, wait, they're making it work from there? Because there's the quote, have to go to New York thing. It looks really, you guys make it look really good. And to sing your praises awkwardly to your face for a second, I did see you on AdAge in 2017, where you were one of the regional small agencies of the year. And now you guys are just top 10, just blank top 10. And
right at number 10 is perfect.
We snuck right into that 10
for the
slot.
Pirates.
Oh, it feels good.
Yeah. And I have a lot of things I'd love to know about your process and stuff, but I know you're joking about, just riffing and talking while I'm quiet, but I would love to hear what makes you guys what makes Humanaut. I mean, your website and everything is so clean and self-explanatory that's all there. So I could just say, go to Humanaut's website to see it. But obviously I want to hear you talk about it, because I'd like to know like what's been the driving force behind all this. Cause you guys are really cool looking. I mean, you don't even call yourself agency or production company you're just Humanaut.
I think creative agency is where they've landed. Titles in general are strange here. We make a lot of them up. Everybody's a producer of sorts. Like we call our accounts people brand producers. We call our project managers creative producers. Somebody's producing something constantly. I used to be offended by it because I was like technically the only producer on staff. And I was like, well, I guess everybody's a producer now.
Well, now everybody's a producer.
But because of, I guess I'll back it up. When I moved here from Nashville specifically for this job, first was the draw of Chattanooga. I was coming to Chattanooga for all sort of the outdoor activities and spending a lot of weekends here. And my wife, then girlfriend, and I were just like, it would be cool to move there. Nashville's we're kind of over it. And you could just tell the culture here was starting to blossom. Like there's a lot of artists, very post-industrial town, like a lot of logistics, but the internet was so fast. We have the gig, we're called Gig City, or we're probably still had the fastest internet in the nation for a minute. And that attracted all these startups and young. Yeah. And so I was like, it's probably a good time to insert myself. And I got really lucky. I don't like advertising. I never thought I'd work at an agency coming from a production background, but Humanaut's mission and the ethos is so in line with what I care about. Like we typically try to work with brands that are better for people, better for the world. We don't try to push any bullshit on people. So David, the co-founder, David Littlejohn of Humanaut, it's really his brainchild. He wanted to bring production in-house to sort of bring the overhead down from hiring a traditional production company and to make it local and to really put all the budget in front of camera, because he cares very much about the creative and about the messaging and making it really good and maximizing his, then very small, still not huge budgets. And Dan's from here, and he goes back further than me in working with David and Humanaut. He's directed most of the early stuff. Most of the stuff that we've ever produced, Dan is directed outright or from the shadows. But yeah, it all started as sort of this way to put all the dollars in front of camera and use whatever resources we could locally to make good content, which is increasingly hard. Things aren't viral like they used to be. It's really got to be it's got to be disruptive, but in a positive way. People have to, like, you're feeding people shit with an ad, interrupting their day. And they want to, you have to like make them want to watch that, within seconds.
Yeah. I think it's really kind of coming out of David Littlejohn's, that David Littlejohn is Humanaut for all intended purposes. I mean, like when he's the reason we're back in Chattanooga. He moved back here from, well, I guess Laguna Beach technically, but he was, Crispin Porter Bogusky, copywriter, and had continued working with Alex Bogusky on some just freelancing. Like he did some SodaStream stuff, Super Bowl work. And I think he was working out of his living room when his wife was like, you need to get out of the fucking house. And there was Chattanooga at that time. He got a 800 square foot office for $1 a square foot for the year. So he had it was $800 for the year. And wow. He had kind of grabbed he was trying to do some presentation. He picked up a couple guys at a local college who've been working here as designers. And then he had called his longtime friend, collaborator in Chicago, Andrew Clark. He's like, hey man, I think I accidentally started an agency down here in Chattanooga. And they originally had kind of a mission to work with emerging brands and like doing apps and kind of creating new micro companies. But David was still getting calls from brands that were looking for video help. And so I was working in another production company in town, and he would bring it. But David's process is, and I think going to Tommy's point of like why he wanted to bring production in-house, it's very backwards. Like, I mean, we'll often be editing final spots before even pitching the script. Like he's a very visual person. So needing to see, like seeing is believing. And then even that, he doesn't trust anything, like doesn't trust, just because we pitch something doesn't mean he's going to trust that. So it's like, if what you pitch is never as good as then you script it, and then that's never as good as what you think it's going to be, then you make it, and that's never going to be as good as what you think it's going to be. And then you edit it, and that's never going to be as good as what you expect it to be. So it's like exploration at just about like literally every level. And that kind of exploration is obviously incredibly it's a time suck, but it's also like a financial suck, especially when you try to go to work with other collaborators. And Tommy mentioned that I directed quite a few. I think we worked with 8 directors over the course of Humanaut. And I think a large part of that is just because it's very difficult to bring people into the process when we're working on something for so long, dedicating so much time to it. It's like, and you're making kind of so many micro decisions that affect the whole. It's very difficult to bring in a collaborator that's going to have any, that's going to take it much further than David's already kind of taking it. And so like in that point, it's really just facilitating that vision. Yeah, I don't know. I think I touched on too many things there, but
no. I mean, it makes sense. You're talking about your process a little bit. I mean, to say it in kind of I don't know if it's a more rude way, but it sounds like what you're saying is like, well, why should I pay somebody else to do something that we're just going to do here anyway, based on the process that you're describing, Yeah. And yeah, I mean, if you're talking about your average vendor, there's a lot of money if you guys are already doing it. If you can edit your own previs or something, or even do your own rough cuts that are so far along, you might, I don't know. I'm assuming you guys may turn around and be like, is this the final? Or are we just like pretty close to the final? Like, why do we really need an editor? I mean, I know there's really talented people who can do everything that they're specializing in, but from what you're saying, it sounds like you have an editing producer in-house.
It's true, we do. We used to be very apologetic about our process and talking to directors and DPs, especially editors. But then we kind of realized it's one of those things. Is it a fault or a feature? And we've really come to embrace it and shape it. It used to be a lot harder on people. And Dan and I have created a shield to the best of our abilities anyway to help sort of stifle the effects of that process down the line. But we've got in-house editors and a post-producer of sorts, and young talent that we develop. We've got one of our most talented guys on staff is a chemical engineering student who graduated, who's really into breakdancing and teaching dancing. And he just wanted to learn how to shoot and edit, kind of to build his own business. So we know he's on a clock, like he's going to leave as soon as he feels accomplished enough. But he's directing and editing national spots now, and he's got no background. And I think we've become really good, especially in the city of Chattanooga, of cultivating talent, especially as we identify holes that need filled, like for grip and lighting, for grip and electric, as editors, for shooters. We just really, the art department's a big one.
I think, really embracing like hiring the person and not the resume, I think is one thing that's really helped us over the years in a place like Chattanooga, where we're really looking for the right mindset of people that are optimistic, that aren't going to take, the criticism and the constant need to go back and explore more, going back into the well, even after you think you have the answer, and really just looking for people that are hungry to help make something and aren't going to bring the ego that would, is the death of most creative ventures when you're trying to work together. So in that regard, it's like every time we've tried to bring in sort of more quote unquote industry professionals here and there, it's been very difficult for them to make that switch, that like kind of turning that off, of the right way to do it. And I think Tommy and I both come from that enough, that we've been able to kind of say like, all right, what's important and what are the rules we can fudge. And I think untraining is so much harder than just training. And that's where we found a lot of our, I don't know.
Yeah, we've really struck out on some people with really dense pedigree, really strong resumes. And it's just, I guess I shouldn't get too specific. There's a lot of tension, I guess, in being both a creative agency and a production company. Like, there's a lot of reasons those two entities don't get along traditionally, and we've really navigated a lot of that really well. And like the people that we hire as a production entity within this creative agency is different than how the creative agency gets, like the copywriters and designers. They sort of have to have, in a lot of ways, more of a pedigree or background experience. The agency world can be so cutthroat anyway. So we also have an opportunity as the production side of things to, I think, take more of a risk on people and local talent specifically.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I haven't heard stuff like that. Oh gosh, I wish I had a cooler, more film-related example for this. This will make me sound like such a veteran, but I mean, I remember guys in the Army saying that, where they're like training everyone on their first shoot day, and they're like, all you dudes that think you know what you're doing, just please try to hang that up. You're not going to listen to us, and you still probably think you're the best out here, but please learn it our way and not your way. And it kind of lines up the way you guys are talking about. So with a place, I don't know anything about Chattanooga. We're actually going to check out Raleigh here in the next week, but you guys have got me thinking I should swing through Chattanooga and maybe look around there.
Come grab a beer.
Yeah. Check the place out. You guys make it sound like a cool spot, and it sounds like it makes sense. Do you find that because Chattanooga, and again, I don't know Chattanooga, but it doesn't pop up as one of the quote film cities. So do you find it's easier to find?
We shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Chattanooga's like 100 miles. It's 110 miles from every city, or most of the cities you've heard of in the South. So it's about 2 hours from Atlanta, 2 hours from Nashville, 2 hours from Knoxville, 2 hours from Huntsville, 2 hours from Birmingham. It should be 2 hours from Asheville,
but that sounds great.
3.
That kind of sounds awesome.
It is.
Because I don't want to be in Atlanta. And Nashville, as they're pretty much getting what I guess is being called the Austin effect now.
Yeah.
I mean, they just have such a major influx. The friends I have there, they're like, dude, don't come here.
Yeah.
It's like an ant farm now. I'm like, oh, okay.
And it's got its issues. Like we can't just go to a rental house. That doesn't exist here. So we have to really be.
Well, I shouldn't say that. We got an amazing rental house here.
Department Blue. I mean, I'm at camera rentals specifically. Department Blue, Chattanooga. Huge shout out. We have a great warehouse of lights, and they do a lot of live events and stuff. And we're really lucky. We get to work with each other all the time. But even like a lot of times, we have to send them to Atlanta to get like a Fisher Dolly. Any cinema glass we want, we have to order ahead of time or send a runner. But that said, like we still pull the talent from these places that wouldn't survive here. As far as the amount of work that we're able to give, or the other production companies are able to give. So it's just really nice.
It's created an amazing community of makers and just general things that like we can help support. And like I said before, like a lot of them are artists or like working, they're not necessarily they're not working other film jobs necessarily. They're doing, metal work or, they're coming on to help us. It's kind of created this really indie commercial. It's like being on an indie commercial set a little bit, only in the sense of like, we all work like your first day, everybody's working together so often and so much in this community that it's really, it's a kind of familial environment in that regard. And then the people that we bring in from, New York, not as much LA because it's just such a long flight, but a lot of New York because we have a direct flight out of New York, and a lot of Atlanta and New Orleans, actually. I used to live in New Orleans, and I still have a lot of crew friends down there. Yeah, I was a juicer down there for 10 years in 478.
Technically, New Orleans is doing great because they keep bringing a lot of jobs to town.
Oh man, New Orleans is one of the best cities in the world. They're amazing. Anyway, but all that say, like, we'll travel those folks in, and like once we work with them once, it's so great because then they kind of they start understanding our speed, and they're like, oh, like I really have to care about this. I don't need to give a fuck about all this other shit. That's all bullshit. Like I can just kind of come and hang out, like. Not hang out. I don't makes it sound a little lax. It's a pain in the ass.
But it used to be kind of hang out. We kind of had to lay some rules down. We were teaching other people bad habits.
Yeah, we realized like some of these rules we really gotta be a little bit more strict.
We're like the cool parent, but also go to bed on time.
But all that say, like it's been a lot more that facilitating that environment on set, especially because of the way David works. Is so crucial and so important to the actual creative because it's really facilitating something that like, and I love big sets and I love people that are really, that know their job well enough to like, I used to fuck off on set and like kind of go over there, you're looking at your phone and you're just kind of waiting, smoking cigarettes by the fucking lights and waiting for the next thing. And I'm doing my job and that's all I give a fuck about. And I'm really good at it. And I'm going to do everything I'm told, but that's about it. And like, I know I'm making this bigger thing, but I really only care about like what's for lunch, who's catering this job, what time we're getting, that kind of stuff. And that when especially with the brands we're working with, like the people that are, sometimes it's their first big production, or it's their first, or it's something that they're kind of transferring over from bigger agencies. And they're just sort of, they're all, jaded and trying to create this like behind the camera environment that's supportive and feels fun. Cause so much of what we're doing is so iterative and so spontaneous within a certain box. That's where Tommy and I are trying to keep that spontaneity to a very small thing.
Also why ADs have a hard time.
That's why ADs hate working for us because they don't understand that flow. And it's very hard to describe it. about like what to care about and what not to care about. Cause we can't just be lawless and like, we don't have all day to do certain things. Sometimes we're like, oh, you got 20 minutes here, but play, like do whatever you want to do in 20 minutes or do whatever you have an hour and a half with this talent. And and David is often rewriting the spot based on where the camera is, what it looks like, and what the talent is giving us. And now it's not having like, oh, this is what I wrote isn't right for this person. I'm going to start rewriting the spot. And he's really the only person I've ever been able to see that can do this well, where it's still on strategy, it's still on brand, and it's still making the commercial like that much sharper. So it's not just like ad-libbing, like, oh, wouldn't this be funny? Say fart again. Oh, let's make this person cuss. Although it can kind of seem that way. Say fuck.
It can seem like he's just playing.
It can seem that way, but like when you get back into the edit, you realize like all of this stuff is supporting the initial strategy, the initial objective, and that initial kind of creative overview. So as much spontaneity and as much ad-libbing, as much rewriting as goes on, it's all within that initial bucket or that initial platform that was initially pitched. It's so much better and it's so much more real because I think for him, he's just like, how am I supposed to write a script that's any good when I don't know who's saying it? I don't know where they're saying it. I don't know what they look like. I don't know what the camera's doing. Like you can't really write a script until you know all those things. And we at Humanaut, the way we, with our budgets, like you really sometimes don't know that until you're there or the day before. And you're like, oh, this is where we are. And this is where we ended up landing. And like, okay, like what would this person say that would still work?
I think we've really built our superpowers. We've built a process around that, and it could be transferable. It's not. I mean, David Littlejohn obviously is just such an advertising genius, but we've created this great workflow. Like we never cut. We've realized like the moment you cut, that's when hair and makeup comes in. That's when the DP is adjusting lights. It really slows your day down. And so like we just roll and there's long takes and he's playing. That's like the bucket Dan's describing, where you can just get as much as you can get in here and we're not going to reset until we have to. Because we're not wasting tape. We got big hard drives, and our poor editors. We have just an awesome staff of editors and freelancers that are used to working with us. But the first time has to be hell because we do hundreds with all those takes and alt lines that aren't even scripted. Do hundreds of versions, to get to the one that we can start blowing out to explore from that one you get to. And
it sounds like you guys have a unique process. Or at least not the traditional process.
Yeah, it's often, we like to say it's the worst of both worlds. It's everything you hate about being scrappy, and it's everything you hate about pomp and circumstance of like iterations for big agencies that you work with.
But it makes the best work.
Yeah,
we're always in the press.
I was gonna say, you guys keep picking on yourselves, but you look amazing.
I mean, it's the benefit is like we often say it's like we're like a product first production company, as in like we are going to make sure a product being like whatever the video or whatever the idea is, like everything is in support of that, and everything that we're doing is working towards that. And it's time. It's the amount of time that is invested. I mean, like even our post schedules. Our post is 6 weeks long because it's 3 weeks before a client even sees anything, because it's so like we'll have 250 versions of a cut before the client ever sees it. And part of that is because there's probably 5 or 6, sometimes 15 different structures that have developed from, or usually I shouldn't say this, probably 5 unique structures of like, how could this play? Because that's the thing about like when you're the night before as he's doing it, he's like, he never wants to be locked into a particular like sequence of events. Like we never shoot towards boards. If we're ever doing storyboards, it's purely for internal purposes. We'd never show that to a client because we never want them to think that that's what they're going to get.
We cover the script just in case.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing we do is make sure that the script is
got the line as written.
The line. Yes. I mean, our job would be so much easier if all we had to do is make a storyboard and shoot it and get the best takes and move on. I can't even imagine. Like, that would be amazing.
Easy street.
Huh? That would be amazing to try to do that. Like, but
I can't tell if my company's cool or lame now. Because we do storyboards and we show them to clients and stuff.
Well, no. I think that's a great way to do it, and what a great way to like express your idea. Mm-hmm. But for David, he doesn't want anything that's going to be like lock him into a scene. Like before he's
when
decided.
You said that, it made sense. Yeah, I mean, I've heard in many different formats now, from talking to people to even master classes and stuff. People are like, yeah, you kind of don't want to get too specific when you're telling people what you're going to give them, because then if they don't get Brad Pitt, they're going to, even if somebody's amazing, they're like, yeah, but I thought it was going to be Brad Pitt and you said Brad Pitt, so this stinks. And you're like, no, it doesn't. It's amazing.
It's funny. It trickles up to our clients even. Like it is a unique process, and it does remove ego, which is like what advertising traditionally is just based in. Some old white dude thought a thing would be good, and then all the minions down the factory line made that thing, and then it ends up on TV as he wrote it and storyboarded it. But this just like blows it out. So we have to not only convince like editors and contractors and our own staff, like this. If it is the worst of both worlds, it really does make the best work just wait and see. And so like our clients, we have to sort of teach, we're removing the ego here. It's not going to be what we sold you. It's going to be in that world. Like it's still in the box and all the stuff is there. The puzzle still comes together, but it's not necessarily what you bought exactly. And sometimes that really surprises people. It can be shocking to drop the sort of budgets and for the clients that we do have, these, in a lot of cases, it's like somebody's life savings. Somebody that starts an organic company or some kind of tech startup, there's not extra money to fail.
And
it sounds like they trust you.
Well, trust is like the fundamental thing. And I think that's why I think, David, we often joke about like, we're operating from a case of fear because we don't want to let the client or the project down. And it's like, we're scared. And so like, it's like covering our bases in every way possible. It's just because it's like, oh, we can't just expect this one thing to work. We got to have 3 others like in the back pocket. Like,
it's kind of cool though. It sounds like another form of not being egotistical because you care enough to be scared whether they're going to like it or not. It sounds pretty charming, like the way you guys do things. I am curious to know about because you talked about how you guys do production. I am curious to know, I mean, I don't want to say like, well, how'd you get your clients if you guys do things this way? But I am kind of curious to know how you generate those relationships. Because you did say, and it's kind of cool to hear, I think Tommy said this a few minutes ago, it's like, they might not get what they thought they were buying. And so we can't show them that or something. So but that's a really cool, and that's why I said they must trust you a lot, which is obviously really cool. And I'm assuming that snowballs, that trust just keeps getting better and better to the point where clients are just like, yeah, look, cut them the check and they'll take care of it.
I wish that was the case.
It's interesting. There's definitely a point at which you reach a certain clientele, a level of client where their budgets are bigger and they're used to a more traditional process, and they have bigger teams. It's not just 1 or 2 people with their life savings. So some of our bigger clients and bigger budgets, we've really had to take a step back and be like, why is this so hard? Why aren't they getting it? And it's like, oh, because they've spent decades doing it the old way. And like we're talking about, we work with such startup, like collaboration style clients for the most part, or traditionally have. We've grown a lot in the past year. And so there's been a lot of sort of growing pains.
And I don't think it's ever been a fun process to work with Humanaut for the client. Like it's at the end, they look at it and they say, oh, I get it. Like they get to the thing and they realize like, oh, you made like 5 or 6 different commercials for me, and I get to choose which one I like best. And then I get, then David would often be like, yeah, I'm going to throw in a 15. Look at this cool 6. Look at all, like they got way more than they paid for but like the whole time they're like hand wringing because they're just like, oh God, I don't know what's happening. And this seems,
see the script.
I saw the script, but you're changing it now. And I don't, you know, I don't get to pick a DP. I don't get to pick my director. I don't get to pick anything. I get a little bit of a say in the actors, and now we have a lot more. And then we were smaller then, and that's just sort of like the way it was. And then they'd see it and they'd be like, "This was amazing!" And then they'd go, you know, ring the church bell and they're in whatever sector, and then people would get calls because we didn't have a sales agent, so people would just call.
We still don't have a salesperson.
That's true. Yeah,
we turned down a lot of work.
All of the work is just word of mouth, and they're like, yeah, just bear with them, I think is what.
Or it was like, oh, you guys don't have any money? I know this company that just hands out content.
and so now we have a better brand producers. We have account people that are much better at walking clients through, so it's not quite as painful. But yeah, I think because Tom, as we're growing, it's like it's kind of painful for us. It's like, hey, why? You know, we're still throwing all the money in front of the camera. Like that's what our objective is. We should be making a lot more money. We're not. Like we're not hiding anything. We're usually trying to fight David and say like just to try to keep some meager amount of money to keep the lights on
so we can grow. Yeah.
So it's like, hey, got another kid coming. I'd love to make sure that these
Congratulations, by the way, Dan. I heard.
Thanks. But that said, like, it's been interesting to grow and realize like, the changing client expectations of like, how do we get them? Because we need so much time, because so much of the time it's like the creatives have there's writers' rooms and there's like insight development, and they are literally just mulling it over. And that's not a lot of pen to paper necessarily in terms of like practical hours, but in terms of like we kick off things and it's in the shop, in sort of the zeitgeist of like Humanaut for a long time. And that percolates, like ideas start to think like, oh, there's this type of client. And like, oh, you start seeing things, around, you start thinking about things. And then that just sort of keeps, folding over on itself until, by the time we get to make it. And then it's still changing. It's still like David often sells things after we pitch like 5 things, 5 platforms, 5 fully blown out scripts, directions that they could go. They'll pick one. And David just takes that as like, he'll say that as often as, this is just I've got a license to make something. I've got approval that I'm allowed to make something, that they're going to give us money to make something. Not that thing that I just sold, but something. And so he'll sit down with production and say, okay, I sold this idea. What are we actually making? And it's still in the same world. And of course, we're still going to make that thing that he sold, but he's actually having a conversation saying like, what are we actually going to do? Like, what can we afford? Where are we going to shoot this thing? Like, what's available? Like, going back to the beginning of this conversation to loop back, it's like, where are we going to spend our money? Like, what's like the big part of this idea that like, that's where our money's going to go. And then how do we kind of figure out how we're going to like cut the corners that we need to cut to support that big idea, that big part of the idea. And once we know that, and I think just to like Hello Toothpaste, when we had the scooter, I don't know if anybody's seen that, like the whole Spit.
SPYT.
We did a thing for Hello Toothpaste, and it was they basically created a fake service for a back of a scooter where you could order a spit, and a scooter guy would come up, and it has a working sink on the back of this scooter, and there's a whole pomp and circumstance of it giving you a toothbrush and doing all that stuff. And you could order, to brush your teeth on the side of the road and spit in this thing. And we got that in, and Tommy was like, oh, it's great. Like, oh wait, that shoots like 4 weeks from now. It's like a Humanaut eternity. I was like, yeah, we'll fake the bike and let's start thinking about all these other things we got to worry about. It's like, no. Like, David's going to expect this scooter to work. Like that's the idea. we got to put a working sink on the back of a scooter,
An electric
scooter that looks like a Vespa. That's the whole idea. Like we are like 3 weeks behind already. Like we need to like start sourcing. That's where we got to, he's like, but that thing's going to cost like shit ton of money. Yeah, that's the idea. Everything else is supporting of that. And so everything else doesn't matter. That's because we took it to New York and we ran it as a service.
Hello was so impressed with the ad and knew that they had a functioning scooter. They were like, let's do a PR stunt. And so we got a bunch of influencers to help us do a live PR stunt with this thing.
I think that's another part of David is like, he hates fake. He hates commercials. He hates anything that's like,
That's great.
when he's watching commercials, he's thinking like, who made this? Like where was the camera? And like, who made this? And I think that's usually the first question Tommy and I ask him, which is like, who is the camera? Like when we see a spot, like, okay, who is the camera in your head? Is this a documentary crew? Is this are we making fun of a traditional ad? So do we need like a lot of do we need to look like a big traditional ad? Or are we going to be more of like a roaming camera? Are we going to be, like, who's the camera? Like, what is that? Because that answers a lot of questions in terms of like,
we joke that we break the fifth wall. A lot of our work is like, I know that this is an ad. Like there's a wink. Like and a lot of times we'll start an ad mocking, just like to make it look at a shitty ad, like a shitty, don't want to throw any coffee companies, but like an instant coffee commercial might look and feel just very plastic. We'll open an ad like that and then let it feel like that and largely ignorable, but the dialogue has to be right there to make people say, wait, this isn't a shitty ad. This is kind of funny. This is making fun of shitty ads. They know, I know, they know. I have a fun tidbit. You didn't ask about our clients, but a fun thing we also have to solve for constantly is like the level of clients we get. Traditionally, it's changing always, but traditionally, we've had clients with very little brand recognition. We can't just do funny spots for the sake of being funny. We can't do a car insurance ad, a Geico ad with just like, here's a wacky thing and end with everybody knows the logo. So most of the work we're doing is also an explainer video. It's educational. So it has to be like, this is this complex, good for you, good for the world product that you don't know what it is, don't know who it is, that we have to explain all of in a fun way that keeps you activated for 15, 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's because it's like nobody, like with Coke, it's like Coca-Cola doesn't want to tell you about its farmers or the people that make it or the ingredients that go into it. It's like, no, buy fucking happiness. It tastes great. Live well and be happy, like, whereas like a lot of our clients are like, please go into great detail. Like, this is my father's vision and it was passed on to me and I blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the reality is you got to say like, that's awesome. But the consumer doesn't care. Unfortunately, like it's like, there's only so much care that they can actually give. Like you can make those like 2010, 2012, maker docs of like, 1967, my daddy had an idea to make skate parks, and like you can, and everybody knows what those are and they're emotional and they're beautiful and they're great, but it's not really where we are and people don't have the time to do that anymore. And that's not how the internet works anymore. So a lot of it's like, does it taste good? Is it affordable or taste or work, or is it quality? Is it affordable? Like how much does it cost and like how much premium? And then does it have a cool story that I can feel good about spending my money on those first two because of those first two things? And so it's like, we got to be able to like get this stuff, get that kind of information in here so you feel good about it, but not make the mistake of like, we want to make the brands relevant and compete inside those, like compete alongside Apple and the cooler things like Geico, Nike, those cool, that are awesome commercials and are really fun to watch. I'm not taking anything away from it. It's like some of the most beautiful art, and Gucci makes those beautiful ads.
And it's funny by the time
Gucci does make beautiful ads.
It's funny, like by the time most of these brands that we help build sort of ubiquity around, they don't really come back at that point. They'll go to the big ad agencies and they can do the fun stuff.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are kind of pioneering the way for some of these companies, and then they kind of blow up with your spots that look huge. And but that's interesting to hear that they're like, all right, we're big time now. Let's go.
We've certainly got some long-lasting good relationships, but that's also been a thing. Like we've done work very, very affordably. Sometimes even lost money in the past, thinking like this is going to be. We'll hook them in, and they'll see how good we are, and then they'll spend their next budget on like really doing this. But 9 times out of 10, we realize that they just kind of come back with the same budget, or if they come back at all, and be like, oh, cool, let's do what we did last time, but maybe water it down a little.
Except we're not anybody like we don't do repeat work. We very rarely do, and partly that's like we're very project based still.
We don't do retainer clients.
So and really it's
Sounds
because
fun.
Yeah, because Dave doesn't want to. He's like, I don't want to. If I'm not excited about it, I don't want to be doing coupon work and hiring a bunch of people to like write emails and handle your social media account when I know you could hire 2 kids out of college to do that better than we could, like because they would care about it and that would be their full-time job. You get way more value.
Are you guys the primary like drivers of production? Because if I recall correctly, it's David Littlejohn and Andrew
Clark.
Okay, so and then is it you guys? Are you guys one of several production teams, or are you guys kind of like the ones who lead the way?
Yeah,
because I'm just trying to not that the hierarchy doesn't matter. It's really interesting to hear about how you guys work, especially where you work and how it all works. It's interesting.
We're ringleaders for sure of a circus, and so we've got like Andrew Clark like oversees strategy, and for a long time he was sort of the operations side of growing the business as well. David has always overseen creative, and then we entered the picture and sort of developed this team, and it became a whole department of production. And it's sort of the end of the line. It's where, they've got their teams of, Andrew's got a small team of strategists that think, what is this, what does this need to be creatively? And then David and his team take it over with copywriters and designers and say like, here's how we're going to bring that idea to life, and spends a lot of time there and then hands that over to Dan and I. There's always like a gray area where we're working together, but
right.
We very much oversee the production. And we did last year, and of course COVID was a strange thing. 2019 even, I think we did like 85% of our productions in-house with local contractors. Last year, everything we did was in-house, 100%, mostly in our studio. I think all but 2 of our productions were in our studio space here in Chattanooga. And this year, so far, we're on track. I don't know if we're as willingly like fighting to do everything 100% of the time. We're open to doing more than one thing at a time and hire out production companies. But to date, all of our work has been in-house in 2021 as well. So
we've got some great producers, line producers that we contract out with, like that helps us immensely just to kind of bring in. And once they kind of get the process and they get the flow, they're just another part of the team.
We'll give a shout out to Alvaro in New Jersey.
Yeah, Alvaro Donato
in New Jersey.
Yeah, he'd call it New York, but we're calling him out for that.
He's in Montclair. He's in Montclair, so it's no big deal. It's like,
it's funny.
And he's a line producer?
Yeah. Yeah, and we bring him.
Assembles your crews for your shoots at your studio in Chattanooga?
Well, so Alvaro and I have been working together for a long time. Actually, another production company. Alvaro's been doing the remote thing for a long time. So like he was remote at a production company here in Chattanooga in 2016. So he actually knows this area better than a lot of people, even that are from here.
And we take community. He's even produced stuff like in Austin for us where nobody knew anything about anything. His mind is like so in line with how we do things that we rely on him and love him. And he's a brother or an uncle because he's a little older than us. So
and
he's helpful. He helps get some of those like. It just helps us kind of branch into New York. He's also a director. I mean, like he's directed a couple spots for us too. So like, he's edited. I think he's edited.
Yeah, he's even edited some like really small scale stuff for us. He's just
to help us out because we were so.
But we're trying because we do function like we do our own payroll, and we were very much an in-house production company, and so there's no reason not to. In the world, we feel like it's sort of changing too. Like we can get directors easier now than we could previously without a production company attached, or like I can find more freelance producers that work directly with agencies more. So I think it's a very collaborative sort of deal where Dan and I are always sort of co-producing, even when we have third-party line producers on contract with us.
That's pretty cool, man. So is I'm sorry to keep going back to Chattanooga, but like,
please,
are you guys, sorry to get too personal. I mean, so are you guys happy there? Is it working? Do you want to just keep it going?
Yeah, I love Chattanooga. It's a big goal of mine is to just create a community. It's cool because I think we're very lucky that there's other production companies in town that we don't compete with. We're sort of in a different space, so we can all use each other and be friendly. It's not cutthroat at all.
Yeah, we actually try to call each other to let each other know when we have big productions. Mostly so we're not fighting over like the local crew based here and just based.
Yeah.
So like we've moved productions around based on another production company's availability just so that we could keep all these, keep people working. And it doesn't help to make them lose out on two jobs or, one job, if we can give them two jobs, then that's way better for the community. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If we can make it work. So.
And Dan, so you were in production in New Orleans for 10 years, you said?
Oh yeah. It's great.
How did you end up at Humanaut?
Oh, how did I end up at Humanaut?
We begged.
No, so David Littlejohn and I actually go way, way back. So he and I have known each other for a very long time. David and I actually used to work together in high school making videos way back when. And oddly enough, like not even the fun videos, whenever David and I made videos together, it was for like school announcements or like and they were weird things. And David, I used to take his journal. He's in a class ahead of mine where we had this English class and you had to do journals. And I would teacher would just leave all the journals that he was grading out and I could grab them. We would just grab them during study hall and just read what people's private thoughts were. I just in school. Yeah, I would take David's, and David was just writing advertising. He's 15 years old and he's writing ads way back then.
That's not fair.
And that was his passion. I was just like, God, what the hell is going on with this thing? And me, I was wanting to make, movies and in whatever form. And I had kind of left school and went to Austin and
oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I got a job on in 2003 on a movie down there starring the Wilson brothers. I couldn't quite make it over to Rome to work with Wes Anderson when he was doing that. So I worked on Luke and Andrew Wilson's directorial debut, the Wendell Baker story. I'm sure you've seen it or own it on Blu-ray. So anyway, but the only job I could get was in the electric department, and I worked for free. I hid on the truck when the union boss came to look, and the guys would kind of give me $20 at the end of the week, and I slept in my car and bathed in Barton Springs. I think Barton Springs.
Yeah,
was called.
Yeah, it's Barton Springs.
And
it's like a fountain.
It's like a swimming pool.
It's
like a natural
Austin's
spring.
one body of water that.
It's awesome.
If it ever dries up, the city's in trouble.
Anyway, but all I say, I worked, it's there. And then after that, like any other movie that like indie movies that I work on, they were like, oh, what have you done before? And I'd be like, well, I worked in the lighting department. And they'd be like, oh, that's just so happens we need people in the lighting department. Like they need every fucking thing. And so I suddenly just had this like resume of lighting. And then I went to New Orleans and, got in the union down there and did that for a very long time until it's a great grip and lighting, such a great way to see a set and understand who works with who, because you're working really close with the gaffer, the DP, you're watching the director work, and like you luckily get to stand by that light and watch them direct, and you watch the other departments and how that works. I don't know. I loved it. It was an amazing education for me. I was a terrible gaffer. I was a great third, and a pretty okay rigging gaffer. But I came back up to Chattanooga after my wife and I had started making this movie up in St. Paul. And it was a Christmas movie. We were shooting it in Christmas and it didn't snow. 30 years. It had never not snowed on Christmas. But we bought a house here in Chattanooga. David and his wife had moved back and they were champions. He's very convincing. He's like, you should come back. It's such a great place, blah, blah, blah. So we came back. I continued to work in New Orleans and Nashville and all over. And then I got a job at a production company in town as a creative director, which is quite a leap.
Yeah.
But it was because they were just really looking, again, another title that doesn't mean anything. And it was really just like, how do we make...
You just hurt a lot of people.
Oh, sorry. Another title that didn't mean anything at the place that I was at. It definitely
may have hurt the people who want that title more than the people who have it.
Okay, well, it's a great title. If you're a creative director at some place, then it probably means something. It didn't mean as much there. All it really meant was like, how do we make these productions replicable? So it's like, you made this amazing production for like $6,000. He's like, yeah, but if I have to make that same production every 2 weeks for the rest of the year, that production suddenly costs, hard costs $60,000, $70,000 because I can't rely on my friends. I can't rely on that house. I can't rely on, last minute things. It's like, and that, it's so easy to you can make a really good video for nothing once, or like if you have all the time in the world. But the minute you have to do that on somebody else's schedule and you got to do it every other week, that's where the expense comes in because you have to start. I'm not saying anything that you and your listeners don't know, but
no, it's awesome. I think it's cool for people to be reminded of, and I actually like there's more for us to explore with the creative director thing too, because like there's a positive to that, to what you said, even though you're like joking about it, because maybe some of us put too much merit in that, like one day I'll be a creative director. Well, maybe they need to just go do it on their own right now, kind of the way you're talking about, because I was just telling someone recently, they were like, what's it going to take to get this feature made? I was like, dude, where you live, 150,000. If I go home, I don't know, $12,000 with my friends for 2 weeks. Because I just got to feed them, because shooting in these cool places. I mean, we're from Lynchburg, Virginia, so I kind of know what that's like, shooting with the same crew and stuff like that. And it's cool when it works. And I was actually going to ask if you guys do this as your one thing, or if you also wanted to make feature films on the side, or if that's the primary or what you're working towards. I'm just curious. Should I not ask?
Dan's got a lot of. I'll go first because
ask Tommy how he got here.
Dan, nice talk is where this ends. So I'll give you my backstory real quick, so you have context for all I really care about and want to do. But I graduated college at the height of the recession, and through some bad guidance counselors, didn't end up in the audio programs that I really wanted to be a part of. There's also a marching band thing. It was Indiana University. They got a renowned music school, and I did not want to be in marching band. So what I really wanted to do with my life was be a record producer. I love music. It's my thing through and through. Not an amazing player, but I got a great ear for it. I feel like I can coach it really well. So I'm going to go to school. I'm going to be a record producer. Going to move to Nashville. It's going to be awesome. So I did most of that. I graduated, like I said, in 2008, moved to Nashville, tried to snatch up a bunch of internships at recording studios as they were all shuttering. And so I shoveled horse shit literally at a recording studio in Franklin, Tennessee for about a year while I washed dishes and tried to pay for $4 gas. I was finally like, I can't, there's no future, not right now anyway. But I know audio, and I have a degree technically in filmmaking. That's what I ended up going to school for, because they had audio programs that I could do a lot of the sort of recording art stuff. So I started freelancing. I built a boom pole out of PVC and like baseball grip tape, and it looked really convincing, but I had like I had a nice microphone. It was all I could afford, a shotgun mic. And I faked it, and I got by and paid the bills. And one day, a little startup called Studio Now was hiring, and they did video to scale. That was their thing. But what they needed was an audiobook guy. So they had a model where like Yellow Pages would hire them when Yellow Pages was relevant to make video for the internet. And that was all you needed. It didn't have to be good. It just had to be video and on the internet. So they boomed that just like a great model for the time and place. The audiobooks part was not a boom. It was the worst. Like when Audible was getting started, would give them like their worst D-list books, like a 13-hour book I'd have to listen to and edit called How to Tell If Your Teen is Suicidal, or like applying Texas Hold'em to business practices and stuff. Really uninteresting stuff. So one day America Online bought that company, really cared about the video, and just immediately lopped off the audiobook department. And I was just kind of there like, hey, I went to school for video. Can I like have a job? And they were just like, yes. So I started sort of coordinating this video to scale and sort of saw what producers did. Like from being a freelancer on set and going to the startup-y, internet-y video production model, saw what producers did, just grew into an associate producer, a regular producer. I really fell in love with startups in general because we grew and like started doing bigger stuff than just mom and pop shop Yellow Pages stuff. We had bigger clients like Verizon and like General Mills was a big client, mostly man on the street sort of interview stuff. All that to say, that company grew very big in the span of about 5-6 years, and it became much more about quantity than quality. And I realized how bad and toxic and terrible the advertising industry could be. About the same time, Nashville was becoming just a constant bridal party. Broadway was just, it's all tractor pulls and hot tubs on pickup beds now. So that's what drew me to Chattanooga with this job posting to produce video content in-house at Humanaut. And I worked here for about a year before Dan came along, and I would encourage you and your listeners to look up the Pet Safe commercial that we did together titled Catspiracy. There's Catspiracy 1 and 2. It was so good that they came back for a sequel. It's all about how cats poop and humans harvest it for profit. So all I'd say, my interests on the side are really just music. As much as I've invested in the video production side of the community here and helping people find and maintain work, I'm just as interested in the music community in Chattanooga, which is growing and vibrant. And like even Dan's wife and her 2 sisters were recently signed to a label, and
oh wow,
it's very, very cool thing. But that's music's my turn. Yeah, call me Spinster, name drop. But Dan does everything constantly on the side as an artist and filmmaker. So tell the man.
So is there a feature film on the way?
Always.
Nice, man.
Everybody's got a little feature hiding inside of them, right?
I know. I try to encourage it because I was just really stupid about commercials. Because when my friends called me to this company a few years ago, I was like, this is great. I'll spend 2 weeks a couple times a year on commercials, clear a few $100,000 in profit margin, and make features in between. And that was the most ignorant thing I may have ever thought in my life, because
I was gonna say, like,
it was bad. I just didn't know. Well, because that's what people, because that's what people in LA said about commercials. They're like, oh man, you make so much money and it's only work for 2 weeks. Well, I was talking to crew. I wasn't talking to the people who have to develop the spot and pitch the spot and get new clients and then get approval on this. I didn't know that it was not 2 weeks, but like almost an 18-month process on the big ones. So yeah,
dude, you should be a creative director. You'll just 2 weeks.
Just pitch them. Well, man, let me ask, because we've hit like an hour at least, and I appreciate you guys' time. I don't want to hold you forever.
Sorry, did we talk nice talk at all? I think it's very important that we address nice talk. Dan is doing an incredible thing.
What is nice talk?
Yeah, you should definitely talk. We should have been talking about nice talk really the whole time.
The Instagram handle is @nicetalk.
Not Nice Talk Show.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's @nicetalk show. And Dan and our good friend Tyler Beasley, who's a wonderful filmmaker and editor,
really built the editing process at Humanaut. Tyler Beasley did.
The School of Editing at Humanaut.
What's the
came
handle
from Tyler.
again?
So
Nice Talk?
Nice Talk Show. It's a 15-second daily meditation we've been doing for the last couple of years.
There's a post for every single day of the year, a few years strong, while he's concurrently working on a feature-length movie that apparently is going to be shot on film now. As like a producer, half of what Dan says frightens me. Yeah, there you go.
Nice talk.
Nice talk.
It was an answer. We were doing some video. Tyler and I were stuck in the edit bay of something, and we were kind of going crazy. And we were just basically like, you know what we need to do? Fuck this quality thing. What we need to do is quantity. We need to do something. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as there's a lot of it. Like that's the key. And so we just set apart to. Well, then we also kind of were going delirious and had said nice talk to each other for like 15 minutes straight. Only thing we said to each other, and we're like, man, that's a good idea. We should just do a couple of dudes talking nice to each other on the internet. I think that's got wings.
Like a vision quest.
Anyway, it's good clean fun.
Several years deep now. You can find them every single day with a new interpretation of a horoscope.
You really post one? You really post one every day?
Yes.
That's a lot of work, man. These are good looking thumbnails. Does this mean like, what do you do? Record this? You have to record this in like a batch session. Look at this color coordination. You can't do. Don't tell me you do this every morning at 6 a.m. and you have this red sweater on.
It's hot in here.
It's a nice turtleneck, though.
Thank you.
It's a really peaceful. It's a really peaceful thing.
It's I like to make people's daily bowel movements. I'd like to spend, those first few moments with people during their most satisfying part of their day.
Nice.
They shoot it in batches to answer your question, though, and then edit it.
Tommy,
don't spoil it.
The illusion is broken, Tommy.
I take full credit for the first taping too.
Yeah,
I'll be watching now. I guess you guys have a pretty unique perspective. See, you guys, it's actually fun. It's actually like hanging out with people, not doing this whole like talk show thing. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the transparency. But I do
and hey, we hate advertising. So we hate advertising, and we're happy to talk about. When you said that,
I was just like, that's how I want to talk. I hate advertising too. It's terrible. I'm always complaining about other companies. I'm like, I don't care about blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I'll see commercials and like I'll just have an imaginary tear because I'm like, that's the good stuff. Like there's this one, I don't even know. This dude's like hanging out of an ice cream truck talking like mean realities to kids. Have you ever seen this series? He says like really harsh stuff to kids. Like kids are up at the truck getting ice cream and he just says really adult harsh stuff that like barely gets by on TV. And I'm like, man, they did it. They broke the mold. They really did it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's hard. It's hard because ads. It's like you're interrupting someone, which people hate, from something that they'd rather be doing or watching. Then you're trying to sell them something, which also sucks. So it's just you're already kind of starting at a deficit when we're going out to make things. Like we got to acknowledge that like your viewer hates you right out the bat. Like you're doing so everything that they just hate you, and you gotta get them back. And I don't think it's not people's attention spans that are like short where you have to get that. You got to get something in the first 5 seconds. It's like, no, you got to convince them that you're not a fucking asshole or that you're talking to them like a real, hey, like we're a real human on this side making this thing, and we want to make sure that you know that we're talking to you and respecting that you are too a real human, and we're trying to be two humans that come together and maybe you like this thing that we want to tell you about. Maybe you don't. That's okay. And sorry for the interruption.
We get some great feedback on our irreverent approach to advertising.
Cheeky.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
We pissed a woman off. we pissed a woman off so bad last week with the ad we made about women pooping, and it's for probiotics. It's a gut health thing.
She wrote us a letter.
She wrote us a physical letter about why she was so upset that we were so grotesque. And the whole commercial is about how it's 2021. You can say poop on TV. And
but you can't.
You can't. It was a TV ad, and every network, not every network, most networks were like, "You can't say poop on TV." And like, you're the problem, man.
I'll give you 2 poops. You can say 2 poops, but after that, you got to bleep them.
There was limits.
I didn't know you couldn't say poop on TV.
You can say 2 in some networks. Some networks, no poops. No networks can you say vagina, which is fucking
found that out.
Hilarious. Like it's dog shit. It's like you understand why they call it Vagisil, because like when you're having a problems in your special area down there, Vagisil, it's like, oh, they had.
It's weird, dude. Sometimes it's like Black Mirror, but I think sometimes we need a special TV in the office just to like cuss and throw stuff at, because like if I hear one more in these troubling times as we emerge together, I'm just like, you motherfucker.
That would be a great poop commercial.
Yeah. Just troubling times. Just like a bunch of stalls.
Wind in your hair.
I like it.
Let me just for fun, if you could humor me, what advice would you give to emerging filmmaking college students or people trying to start their own Humanaut? I think you guys have shared a lot of your perspective, which I appreciate a lot. I really have. But if there's anything you haven't said, if somebody was trying to just get it going from scratch, what would you tell them?
My advice would be just to find whatever your interest is, because it's not. I don't want to like. There's some DPs that just shoot hair and they just want to do that L'Oreal commercial with a beautiful wavy, and I don't want to shit on that. Like if that's what they really care about, that's what they really want to do. Like that's cool too. You're very talented. You probably make a ton of money doing it. But I guess my advice to any young person is just really find what you love, and the amount of money you make doing that isn't necessarily as important as you doing that. And you could really save some bills on mental health and counseling if you just do something you love.
Yeah, I think, and that's absolutely right. And I think the other side of it is especially with like anything video film related, it's a community craft, and you need to have people that you surround yourself with, that you care about, and that are supportive of you, and that you're also supporting, because it takes a lot of people to make this thing. It's not like being a painter or a writer or a singer songwriter kind of band where it's like a smaller. Obviously, those, not to take anything away from those art forms, there's a lot of work and people that go into it eventually, but those are very private enterprises that you can just do and be very satisfied on a one-on-one thing. To make a video, to make any kind of thing, like you need and rely on people, and that the minute you bring in other people, it's going to change the product. It's going to either water it down or elevate it. And sometimes things need to be watered down and sometimes things need to be elevated. And I think choosing your tribe and choosing your people that you want to spend time with, and just acknowledging that, like, I mean, hell, like even on the crew days, it's like, who do I want to spend 15 hours a day with? That being cool and like just being good to other people will often get you a better job than being the most talented. Because you can be a son of a bitch, but you got to be fucking the best there is. And the only person that can do that. You can be pretty shitty if you're the funnest, best, oh my God, I cannot live my life without this kid personality, late all the time, but like, God damn, he makes me laugh. Most of us, I think, shoot for that middle of the road where we're like, we're pretty good at what we do, but we're really nice to be around as well. So I think that community aspect of it, finding your friends and people to support you and that you can support. It's a two-way street.
And actually, I have another little nugget for any aspiring young person trying to get into advertising, video production, whatever you want to do in video world, commercial or not. PA, take the PA gigs. I'm never going to hire another person who doesn't have PA experience, because it is so vital to be at that bottom rung. And when you're a PA also, always be sweeping. If you're out of things to do, just find a broom. Your director, your producer, they're going to love you.
That's maybe true unless you're trying to be like, I don't know, but that's maybe true. I don't know. Sometimes working your way up can really hurt you. I find that like I am a very crew-centric director when I'm directing, and I'm thinking about the quality and the mental strain and effort that I'm putting on the crew. And I think that other creatives that I've worked with that don't have that understanding can often push for the better shot or the better result because they're not thinking about, oh man, this is gonna be really hard on this fucking prop, or this is gonna be really hard on that hairstylist, because they're just thinking like, this shot needs this fucking thing. And so sometimes, like some of the best DPs I've worked with, they never worked in the camera department. I'm a DP. You need to be that cocksure. You just need to be cool, ideally, if you can. That's a hard balance. I would, Tommy and I agree. I'd rather work with people that come up doing this stuff, but there's a huge window of opportunity of like stuff that gets made for them. Like I said, you can be a fucking asshole if you're the best at what you do. Then you can be a fucking asshole, which nobody wants to be an asshole. You know, and sometimes there's really good people that are great at what they do. They're not assholes. But anyway, I'm just gonna say that.
I still think everybody should PA.
All right. I think, yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
Dan's got a good point though, because I've botched my own stuff, but I'm like in directing mode, and then I look at the watch and I'm like, they need second lunch, and that's where the mind goes. I'm like, they got to eat. It's been almost 6 hours.
I know, and it's great. Like the crew loves you, and like you get people to come back and work for you. But I find that the stuff that people are putting on their sites, and the reason that people are excited to come back, is that really hard shoot that fucking broke their back, but it was like really good. Now, if you're breaking people's back for bullshit, you know, like that sucks. But like if what you're doing is like
a meaningful advertisement.
All right.
Well, guys, I'm almost out of time with you. If you want to be found, where can people find you?
You can look at our work at humanaut.is, HUMANAUT.is. I think nearly everything, actually, I'm going to go with everything on that site was touched in some regard by Dan or myself. I don't need a lot of people following me personally. You can find me on LinkedIn.
I'm making LinkedIn.
At Tommy W. Wilson on Instagram, but you'll only see pictures of my children and set behind the scene photos from time to time. You can find Dan at Nice Talk Show.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Tommy and Dan from Humanaut. You can find them via the links in the show notes, on social media, and of course, Google. If you have any ideas for future episodes or who you'd like to hear from next, please DM us or leave us a comment on Instagram or Facebook, and we will try to make it happen. If you want a shout out in a future episode, please leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.